What's up, idiots? Welcome back. 2 days in a row of videos. That's pretty good. You guys are pretty lucky to have me. I'm in a great mood. I just signed my new contract for next year officially. My first admin contract. I'll be vice principal at my school next year, so I'm excited about that. Having a good morning. About to get into some running back rankings. Also good for me. So let's get started. Same format as yesterday, okay, just with running backs instead. So we'll go through who were the top performers. Are there any takeaways if we change to average instead of overall points? And then get into your guys' team rankings, okay, our team rankings. So the 2024 running back ranks by our league scoring our, this is total points, okay, not average. So number one, Saquon Barkley. What a year it was. He's my guy now, or has been. Rookie draft, it was my first pick, so love it. Love that he's finally on a good team with a good offensive line. Number two, Jahmyr Gibbs for Burt. That's a great young player to have on your team. That's exciting for Burt. Three, Derrick Henry. King Henry coming back, man. What a year for Steve's guy. Derrick Henry, big year. Number four, Bijan Robinson for Adam. Maybe actually not a letdown. I mean, you go top four, but like he was the guy. It was like he before the year there was a lot of talk like if anyone's gonna beat CMC for the number one running back spot before all of that disaster happened, then it could be Bijan. So number four is great. It's great. He is a top four running back for sure. So coming in at number four though, his ceiling's higher for sure. Number five, Josh Jacobs for Phil. Could have been mine. I made the trade. I took a gamble, got Kamara and Christian Watson. It's okay. I'm okay with it, but I'd certainly like to have Josh Jacobs back. He seems to have found a really solid situation in Green Bay. I don't think they're going to move away from him. Number six, Kyren Williams for Steve. He held off. Whenever a guy's a later round pick like Kyren was, it's always like, is his job going to be given away? Are they going to move off of him? They took Blake Corum. It looks like he's pretty cemented there for Steve-O. Devon Achane at number seven for Sean. Could have been better with more Tua. So that's going to be the question mark for him. Does he have number one overall running back potential? I don't know. I guess he could, but like really, I think his injury problems along with Tua's certainly put a little bit of a kibosh on that. They're gonna have to be careful with Tua, obviously. So potential for number one, but overall, but I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of his ceiling, which in the perfect season, I guess the ceiling is a number one overall running back. Number eight, Jonathan Taylor, also for Sean. So he's got back-to-back 7 and 8. Another guy who has been the number one overall running back. Are those days behind him? I would guess so. I would think that he's beyond that arc of his career, but we just saw Saquon do it. So who the quarterback there is gonna matter a lot. I think Daniel Jones would be really good for him, which is awful to say about anybody. Poor Daniel. Number nine, Alvin Kamara for me. Missed the end of the season, but still had a very, very good season for a guy of his advanced age. Looks to still be the dude there. Number 10, Chase Brown for Lucas. Definitely a surprise player. Nice solid year for Chase Brown. Number 11, James Cook for Phil. You want to see that higher, especially with how many touchdowns he got. So is this a ceiling? I really think it could be near his ceiling. 16 touchdowns and he's still number 11. So that's kind of telling a little bit. Number 12, James Conner for Adam. Just keeps chugging along. Somehow it just keeps happening. My Trey Benson hopeful pick was based on the fact that James Conner never plays a full season, and then he goes ahead and just does that. Number 13, Aaron Jones for Phil. He's definitely sliding, but he had a great season. That slide's gonna continue. He's not getting younger. I think he's 30 now. So good season for Phil's guy there. Number 14, Chuba Hubbard for JD. Got him from me in the Burrow trade. Good season, maybe even capable of a better season. They did go and get Rico Dowdle, so we'll see how that affects him. But it was a good season for JD's guy there. JD's number one, by the way. That's JD's number one. Bucky Irving at 15 for Phil. So Phil has number 5, Josh Jacobs, number 11, James Cook, and 13, Aaron Jones, and 15, Bucky Irving, a guy who's probably moving up, most likely. Number 16, Joe Mixon. This is Mark's first guy on the list at number 16, Joe Mixon. It worked in Houston for him. It worked out well, better than I think a lot of us would have predicted. So number 17, would not have seen Breece Hall coming in after Joe Mixon, Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown. Would not have seen Breece Hall finishing after those guys. So tough year for him. They seem like they want to get more guys involved in the running back room. They've specifically mentioned they have 3 guys they like a lot with Braylon Allen and Isaiah, whatever his name is. Unfortunately, he's in the mix too. Because if it was Braylon Allen and Breece Hall, I'd like both of them, and I have one of them. But it might not be great, especially when you factor in the Justin Fields effect, the running quarterback effect. That hurts our pass-catching running backs, which Breece Hall is a very good one. Number 18, DeAndre Swift for Phil. That's not going to stay. They are probably going to get themselves a good running back, and hopefully for them move on from DeAndre Swift, who's always just been okay. He's just a guy. He really is. He wasn't drafted to be just a guy, but he is just a guy. Number 19, David Montgomery, higher on average. He got hurt at the end of the year. I'm happy to have picked him up. So he's on my squad now. Very good running back. Just perfect for what Detroit wants to do with Jahmyr Gibbs and him. Not an RB1. I don't see that, but he's a very capable, reliable RB2. 20, Najee Harris, Sean. Should be a better year, but that contract with the Chargers is very replaceable. It's a 1-year contract. It's not very much money unless he hits incentives, and they probably are going to draft somebody. So he's a volume guy. He has to have volume. He's just not that great without volume. It's like, let's see, where was I? He's like the opposite of Devon Achane. Okay, number 21. Tony Pollard for Burt. Okay, he went in, took over that job in Tennessee. Tyjae Spears is still there, but I think it's Tony Pollard's job right now. They should have a new quarterback. They should have a better team. We'll see. 22, Rico Dowdle, Burt. Good year in Dallas. Took him too long for him to just be the guy. Just took them too long. And now he's going to go be with Chuba. So that's a tough situation for those two. 23, Rashad White, Lucas, guy whose best days are behind him, I would say, with Bucky Irving looking phenomenal there. 24, J.K. Dobbins for Burt, still doesn't have a team. 25, Tyrone Tracy for Phil, another one for Phil. Late round draft pick, I should say, probably very replaceable. Looked good, but this is that Dameon Pierce effect. Guys who look good when they're late round picks, there is no loyalty to those players by NFL teams. And the second they're hurt, that job is given to someone else. And if they get a 3rd round running back, 2nd round running back, even a 4th round running back, Tyrone Tracy could just be a flash in the pan guy. But he did look good. I got to say, he looked good. Number 26, Daryl's first guy on this list, Ramondre Stevenson. Just nothing to say about this. It's New England. 27, Zach Charbonnet, Adam, only good because Walker got hurt, but looked good in that time. And he is backed up right against number 28, Ken Walker, for Mark. Ken Walker is the better player. I have no doubt about that. He did get hurt, and that's been an issue. Going back to college, those two guys might make it really hard for each other, but I would always give the edge to Ken Walker. He is a better player when I watch the two of them. Number 29, Brian Robinson for Steve. Man, the guy got hurt and could have had even more. He was a solid piece this year to have in fantasy. He's a great flex player. Just 30 yards and a touchdown every week. It was not beautiful. It wasn't like you prayed for that touchdown and you got it more often than not. And it just really a guy you could play in that flex like every single week. Number 30, Kareem Hunt had his day in the sun. That KC backfield is terrible. Don't want any part of it. 31, Javonte Williams for Sean. Now he's on the Cowboys. They're gonna draft a running back high. This is probably the end for Javonte Williams. Assuming they take a day 1 or 2 running back. Javonte Williams will be a bit piece. 32, Tank Bigsby for Lucas. Above Travis Etienne, who comes in at 36. I'll just mention that now. Those two guys are going to make it very, very unfavorable for Lucas. He has both of them, and if they're both healthy, they are both almost unusable. 33, Jerome Ford. Probably it for him. Probably was his chance to shine was 2 years ago and then last year. Nice little piece to have, but I think we see what he is. Number 34, Alexander Madison for Burt. I think he's done. That's it. That's curtains. Okay, he's not going to be anything. Number 35, Austin Eckler for Steve. Maybe he gets one more little bit this year, but Brian Robinson and him, we're fine. I think they'd much rather have Brian Robinson and a young electric guy rather than an old, formerly electric guy. All right. Surprising or notable changes when you average by points. Okay, Jonathan Taylor moves up to 5. We know this about Johnny Taylor. He is great when he plays. Another injury guy, but he's great when he plays. He moved up to number 5 with average points. Alvin Kamara up to number 6. He's my old man that just keeps plugging along, just keeps going. Ken Walker moves up to number 13. That's what I said before. He is better than Zach Charbonnet, but they make life difficult on each other. And I think if Walker's healthy, though, he will return to the lion's share and be very, very, very playable for Mark. Bucky Irving and Aaron Jones actually drop, so that hurts Phil a little bit when you look at average. But I think Bucky's is a little mirage because the beginning of the season, he played in most games, but he didn't really get started until the momentum picked up later in the year. So the first games are understandable. Aaron Jones, though, this is, I think, very accurate. He played, I'm pretty sure, the full season. I didn't look that up. I know he played just about the whole thing. He's still good. He is just not great anymore, and they have brought in someone else that's going to hurt him, I think. So Najee drops 4 spots. So he's a volume guy. He played, I think, the full season also. He drops when we look at average. CMC played like 2 games or 1 game or something. He is in the top 30 by average. It was not great still, but even with his leaving injured early in one of the games, he's still into the top 30. And Jerome Ford, Travis Etienne, and Tank Bigsby all drop a lot when you do it by average. They're out of RB3 range. I'm pretty sure all 3 of them. What does Sleeper have projected risers? They have Bucky Irving projected top 5 next year. Okay, they have CMC back into the top 10 at number 6. The rookies are projected very strongly, and Jaylen Warren goes up to number 28. If Pittsburgh takes a rookie running back, that could obviously hurt that chance. But those are the risers that Sleeper has projected. All right, for running back rankings, I'm looking at all of your startable assets. It's not like yesterday where I was looking at top 3 quarterbacks. There are 4 potential roster positions you can play running back in, the 2 running backs and the 2 flex spots. So I'm looking at every startable asset you have. As always, it's the same thing. I looked at last year's rankings, but I also looked at which room would I rather have. So just because last year's rankings had these guys okay, we're seeing a lot of change. Running back changes more than any other position. And so I went and said, if I could trade a whole running back room for another one, which one I take, and then I worked my way through that way. Okay, number 10. This was not hard. It's not hard for the bottom 2. Sorry, guys. It's Darrell at number 10. Ramondre is his banner player right now. Tyjae Spears, Kareem Hunt, Marshawn Lloyd, and Nick Chubb. There's just not a lot here. Ramondre was an RB3 in our league, mid-level RB3 at that, coming in like number 27 or something like that. Darrell needs to make moves here. He needs to make some moves here. He needs to get a couple guys because Nick Chubb does not have a job yet. Marshawn Lloyd is now firmly behind Josh Jacobs. That is not a rookie pick that's looking to pay off too soon. But Kareem Hunt is in a terrible committee. Tyjae Spears is behind Tony Pollard. And Ramondre is Ramondre. And on a terrible... Well, maybe their offense is a little bit better, but I think Drake May would even take away from him. So, Darrell needs to make moves. That's it. He's number 10. JD comes at number 9 with Chuba Hubbard as his bannerman. He's got Raheem Mostert, Tyler Algier, Jalen Wright. Chuba moves JD over that. I'd rather have him than Ramondre he was a mid-level RB2 in our league at number 14. His workload is maybe cut into a little bit with Rico Dowdle joining him, but it's fortunate that for JD that he just gets to throw Ashton Genty into this if that's what he wants to do, which I'm assuming that's what he wants to do. It's what I would want to do. So that'll help him. That should help him. Yeah, there's a tier break here, by the way. 9 is a tier break. Those are hurting running back rooms right now. There's a tier break, it's 10 and 9, and then there's a tier break from 8, 7, 6, and 5, and then we have another one just like yesterday at number 4. So at number 8, this was close. This was hard for me, these picks right here, but it's Mark coming in at number 8. Ken Walker and Joe Mixon being his main dudes, and then Zach Moss. So he's got 2 starters for sure, but no depth. That's it. It's Ken Walker and Zach and Joe Mixon. And if there's an injury like there was last year, he's toast. I mean, there's no one to play here. It's very, very difficult. I almost still put Mark above Lucas, but he just has more possible starters. Lucas has a lot of guys that are like, okay. So that's better than what Mark has here, which is 2 guys who are good and no one else. His 2 starters are probably better than Lucas's starters, but there's just, I wouldn't trade this room for Lucas's room. I would definitely take Lucas's side, and that's why Lucas comes in at number 7. Chase Brown's his banner guy. That's a scary situation to be in because, again, that's not draft capital. That's not a guy that this team is tied to, that this team feels any loyalty to. If they don't pick someone up, he's a good player again this year, which is why he's above Mark. But he also has Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, which if one of them gets hurt, they could be good. If both of them are playing, it's so gross. Their average point per game put them at like 39 and 40. They're right by each other. It's not a good situation. He has Rachaad White, who's going to lose points to Bucky Irving, a lot of them. He's got Isaiah Pacheco, who's done as a star. It's over. That was a good year for him, and now he's part of a committee that, again, I don't want to touch. This room looked good heading into last year. It's really taken a hit. I think I've talked about everything else I have on here. He does have some, did I have that? No, that's someone else. Yeah, but his depth puts him over Mark. It's a depth thing. I'd rather have the safety in numbers in this type of a league with how long our rosters are, how big our rosters are. Okay, ahead of them at number 6 is Bert, and he's pushed up by one guy. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. He also has Rico Dowdle and Tony Pollard. J.K. Dobbins hasn't signed anywhere. I can't imagine it being a good place to sign. Like he's not going to get a starting job. I don't think it won't be like last year where he has a chance for that. This ranking is really just bolstered by Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a good place to start. He was the number 2 running back overall last year in our league. Burt gets him, and he gets to build from him. And Rico may poach some work from Chuba, but this is all about Jahmyr Gibbs. If you start there, you're starting in a better place, I think, than the people behind you. So that gets Burt to number 6. And at number 5 is Adam. Bijan, awesome. Elite, great. James Conner, Elijah Mitchell. Bijan plus James Conner is good enough to overcome Gibbs, in my opinion. I think that's pretty undeniable. Elijah Mitchell could be a depth piece for KC, but that backfield, again, it's gross, it's terrible. Bijan could end up as the number 1 running back overall. Not too many players have that potential. I'd put 4 or 5 into there right now, and that's it. And so Adam gets there because James Conner has been Mr. Reliable. Bijan's great, so he's coming in number 5. Okay. Once again, it's another tier break here, demarcation line. These are the top 4 teams. The order is very close. It could be moved around. These are the teams that I would believe if they ended up being what we look back at and say that's the best running back room at the end of the year. At number 4 is Steve. I didn't actually write his name in here. Steve with Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, and Brian Robinson. Okay, the top 2 are last year just about as good as anyone's top 2 at this point. Okay, Brian Robinson is like I said, consistent, good 3rd starter, not a star. Okay, so really good room because King Henry was a great last year. I don't see that changing this year. Yes, he's older. He's an outlier. That offense is great. He's going to keep being great. I think Steve has Kyron's backup, Blake Corum, as well, which helps with a smaller guy. And he also has Isaac Garendo, who's now a nice backup in case of a CMC injury. That could be really valuable for him. So Steve has a good group. I do think that there's even another tier at 3 through 1, but Steve is in that top 4 where Kyron and King Henry could be huge. Isaac Rendo is nothing special in my opinion, but if CMC goes down, that San Francisco running back is always a point scorer, okay? All right, number 3, Phil. And again, these are razor thin margins here. Phil has Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones, and James Cook, and I'll put Tyrone Tracy. This could end up as the number 1 room for sure. If Bucky takes a full step forward and like really supplants Rachaad White, and Josh Jacobs continues his end of year run, this could be as good of a 1-2 punch as there is. Aaron Jones is 30. He's probably losing out on some work to Jordan Mason coming to town. This is a really good running back draft class, and they went and traded for Jordan Mason instead of just sitting around to draft someone. So I think they like him, and I think he could be a first and second down back, and then Aaron Jones be their specialist. That they know he's older. He's 30. They brought in a young guy. They traded for him. They targeted him. I like that for Jordan Mason. I think it says good things for this year for him. I would see him as like a Brian Robinson type for them. Okay, nothing flashy, nothing special, but he could be the main first and second down back, with Aaron Jones being their gadgety Austin Eckler type for Washington last year. Okay, the Austin Eckler to Brian Robinson. He's better than Austin Eckler at this point too, so he could have a lot of success in that. Let's see. James Cook is a great young player. I said this in the rankings before. He was extremely touchdown dependent. He had 16 touchdowns. He does not get as many runs, nearly as many runs as almost anyone else in the top 12. He gets 16 touchdowns. That is the kind of regression. I think I called that for Daryl back in the day. I can't remember who it was. Was it Nick Chubb or was it? Dang, I can't remember. I wish I would remember who it was. But I called it for Daryl, for his player. Might have even been Aaron Jones. Losing touchdowns. 16 is a lot of touchdowns, okay? Especially with Josh Allen near the goal line. He had to break quite a few longer touchdown runs. He's very good, but he just doesn't get the same level of work. Plus, they have some young backs that they might be looking at next year as a little more worked in. So I see those 16 touchdowns regressing. And there may be some poaching of his work. That keeps Phil at number 3, okay? Very good room, but these are all elite running back rooms, I would say. Okay, number 2 might be a little controversial, but I'll go with Sean at number 2. Controversial that he's not number 1, I don't know. To me, it wasn't that close, but I shouldn't say that. That's not true, because I already said these are all like very thin margins. To me, I was very confident with this ordering, despite it being favoring me. Sean, Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. If this breaks right, this easily could be number 1 room. I mean, like without question. The top 3 are very strong, and there's little to separate them. As I've said, the top 3 teams. If Tua stays healthy and Achane gets a lot of receiving attempts, this could be the top group. It's crazy how much Tua getting hurt Achane. You almost think they would have just dumped the ball off to him with those terrible backups. They didn't. They weren't able to. The offense completely sputtered, completely shut down. There's a lot of injury risk on that offense, okay? It's very hard with that offense because I have Tyreek and I have Jalen Waddle. And Achane and Tua all 4 of those guys are injury risks at this point. So, and that offense is like, it breaks down real fast if those guys aren't all healthy. If the Chargers draft a new running back, which I think they will, like Najee's contract is 1 year, and it's only like $5 or $6 million, and with incentives that bring it up to 10 that make it look better. They are probably going to draft a running back, and I think it's going to be a good one, and that's going to hurt this score. Maybe Sean ends up with that guy, and he has the backups, but that's going to hurt Najee here. The Jets' new coach has said he wants to use all of his backs, like all 3. Okay, again, if it was Braylon and Breece, I'd be happy with both of them. But Breece already had a down year. Now you're bringing in Justin Fields. He's going to scramble instead of the little dump-off passes. He'll scramble. I think I already said this, but Jonathan Taylor would really benefit from Daniel Jones winning that competition for similar reasons. Yeah, I think that this is a very good room. I think there are limitations that put it at 2 rather than jumping me, who's at number 1. So number 1, yep, it's me. It's Saquon Barkley, number 1 running back, being committed to by the Eagles. Great offensive line. part of me is like, in New York when he got hurt, was it like, yeah, I'm a little dinged up, I'm not playing? And in Philly, it's like, no, this is a really good team. I'm going to play through some of these little dings that I've taken. I feel like playing for that city, playing for that team, playing with that offensive line is just the best recipe for him. I'm so happy to have stuck with him through some harder seasons for injuries for sure, which is kind of the theme of all three of my guys. They're older, they are getting injured, but I'd rather have them this year. So that's Saquon number one. CMC's coming back. He's had a full year to rest. I'll put it that way. He's had a year of rest. When he plays, he's great. He still is. I don't know what the offense is going to be, but I think it's going to be a lot of CMC. David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara is next on my list. He was top 6. He was number 6 for average points per game. And then we have David Montgomery, who's just a workhorse, works great in that Lions system. It's perfect. It's a perfect 1-2 punch for them. And then Jordan Mason. I'm excited for that Vikings pickup. I think that's the best case scenario for him. Yes, I would have liked him to continue backing up CMC. He was great for me when he was doing that, but now he's somewhere where he could be the Brian Robinson type of role. I really think so. So that's a good top 4 options for me. To me, it's the room I'd prefer to have. Maybe not for 3 years down the road. This year and next year, yeah, I like this room. I also have Braylon Allen and Trey Benson as depth pieces. Okay, sort of like Phil's. Anyways, yeah. They could be something with injuries. So I think I mentioned that for a couple teams. So again, that's it. That's my that's a top 10 of the running back position rankings. Feel free to disagree. I'm sure some of you will. But I think for this season especially, I would take them in just about that order. So with some, wiggle room. There's wiggle room on here, and injuries change all of it for sure. I'm not basing this on potential injuries. It's like, what gamble do I want to take this year? All right. Peace out, guys. Wide receivers coming up next.